Good morning, Heather. Good morning, Ray.
Hey,
Good
Jason, good morning.
morning. How is everybody?
Doing
Good.
great, doing great.
We are fresh back from our presentation. What was it? 2 weeks ago now in
Yeah,
Long Beach.
Yep,
yeah,
2 weeks
two
ago.
weeks ago in Long Beach, exactly.
And we did a lot around AI. That was the topic du jour in Long Beach. So we had a great crowd, great interaction with the folks that came out. Room was full, and there was a lot of interest about AI and where we're going with AI overall. And I think we talked about a lot of things that people didn't necessarily know that were happening out there. So we had a great conference. So Ray, any kind of initial thoughts about what happened out in Long Beach?
Yeah, I mean, we were a little concerned at the 15 minutes of the show time that nobody's going to be there, but they were late arrivers and they got there and it was a full packed room. Uh, and we actually did some polling in the middle of the
Hmm.
presentation. Weren't sure how it was going to go, but it really was very well received. We got a lot of folks very engaged because of that. Uh, and then after the presentation, we got tons of folks that were requesting the presentation and asking, for our business cards so they could email us, and they have, which is awesome.
And Heather was one of the architects of the presentation. She did a fabulous job helping us with the research and our discussions and putting it together. So, Heather, you did a great job working with us on the presentation. So, we were super happy about it. So, I think we have some slides on it, don't we?
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, since Ray mentioned the poll, and I know Ray, you didn't mention this as a slide
Yeah.
that you wanted to see, but I wanted to show this. This was one of the first questions that Ray and Jason asked before they really dug into the meat of the conversation and asking, do you have a positive or negative perception of AI as it relates to the HR function? So it was very interesting to see the response that it's 82% positive.
Yeah, I was surprised it was that high. I thought it would have been lower, but people were not negative about it. So, it was interesting to see it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think also when we kind of dug in a little bit more, folks are using the tool. I mean, they're using it for some of those tasks that can be accelerated within their day-to-day work. So very, very positive on that.
And I know that
Yeah, you
one of the,
you would have
oh, sorry,
you
go,
would have
Jason.
thought you would. That's okay, but Heather, you would have thought that there was a few more negatives just because there's so much
Yeah.
unknown about AI and so many people seem concerned about it. And there's all these articles about what's going to happen with AI. One of the things that we talked about in the room was that IBM has put 8,000 jobs on pause that they were potentially hiring for because they believe that those can now all be done with AI. So it definitely was an eye opener that people are overall seeing it as a positive. Now we did have one woman who was basically not shy about saying, "I'm at my end of career and I'm glad I'm getting out because I don't want to deal with any of this. And you young people can deal with all of it because I'm going to go basically sit on the beach." So she
Yep.
was she was out.
Yeah, she's totally very anti-AI as well as, kind of was kind of a retiring in her seat. I think is probably the way you would consider that type of a worker.
Yeah,
A little bit
Hey,
disengaged.
to each your own.
That's right. That's
exactly.
right. But you want to show a couple of those kind of just real the
Yes.
interesting slides that we had just around the uptick, how quickly AI has taken on. Within 2 months, it's gotten to 100 million users, and some of these other popular platforms, how long it took them to get to 100 million users, and
Hmm.
you know the part that's amazing is even you think about an iPhone, it took 43 months, almost 3 plus almost 4 years to get to 100 million users, and AI, Chat GPT did it in 2 months. I mean, so it's crazy the adoption rate.
One, remember 100 million people, and that's global users. But
Yeah,
remember, 100 million people, that's one third of the population of the United States adopted to
yeah,
ChatGPT in 2 months. I mean,
yeah,
it's
Crazy.
amazing,
yeah. It
crazy
is.
number.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Uh, I think we had another slide that was kind of another interesting one, just around, kind of what people think as far as the kind of things that AI could help them with. Uh, and basically, 80% of the workforce could find up to 10% of its work delegated, to a large language model. So a lot of work can be moved, repetitive work, to an AI type of a product.
Well,
Uh,
how about the square in the bottom right
yep.
quadrant, which I think is shocking to
Mm-hmm.
me. Between 47 and 56% of all tasks in the workforce com- could be completed faster with AI.
Yep. Yeah. If you don't think that is impactful from an HR perspective, I mean, nothing really is. I mean, that says it all right there.
One of the things
Yeah.
I think we have to. Oh, go ahead, Heather. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, yeah, and I think that I think I know, and we're going to get to this later too. But I think a lot of people are about afraid of their job, their job being taken away. And I think that statistic speaks to this is your opportunity. It's opportunity for people to level up. Use the artificial intelligence to help them be more efficient in their tasks, and then level up and do the more human centric type activities versus the tactical type activities.
Well,
Exactly.
and I also think that I think companies that will master AI, and this is just my thought process, and I could be wrong, but I think companies that master AI may have to do some sort of rationalizing of just how many of our jobs do we want to commit to AI? I mean, do we
Mhm.
want to have a company that's largely AI driven, or do we want to also have, employees? Because at the end of the day, this is about the American worker. And so we want to employ people, we want to give jobs, and so I think a company that makes a commitment to saying, hey, X percentage of our work will be done with AI, but X percentage of our work is going to be done with, high quality workers who, are in the US, and we want to make sure that we create an environment and economy for everyone. So I think a company that wins the battle of publicity around AI, may make some of those concessions, and I think it's important maybe to start thinking about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and because at the end of the day, AI is going to be a tool that can be used for productivity, but you still need employees to actually you know that have the understanding, that can think logically, that can understand customers and understand how to get things done inside of an organization, and that's really going to be the added value that those folks have.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Know how to get work done inside of an organization. Just because you're doing the work doesn't necessarily mean that marketing or finance or engineering wants your work. So you have it. Do they really want to use it? Do they really want to consume it? And that's a big part of what people have to do as they manage relationships within organizations.
Yep, exactly.
I think that's a good segue to this other slide that we wanted to share, which is the benefits of AI for HR.
Yeah, and for folks that are in HR, I mean, these are the kinds of things that AI can help you with today. Uh, so start thinking about ways to leverage and move some of this work, over to AI, because, if you're still, having 3 meetings with a manager to write a job description, that probably is not the best use of your time, as an example. Uh, Same thing, if you're trying to coordinate schedules, that's not the best approach either, use of your time. And even things like, when you build strategy and scenarios, those are the things that, really add a lot of value to an HR organization. But AI can help do a little bit of that also, which is great. I mean, it can come up with all kinds of cool ideas and even creative ideas too.
Well, I think one of the ones that's interesting to me is act as a personal assistant. And so essentially, Calendly, a tool like that is an AI.
Mhm.
And we talked a little bit about that in Long Beach, was that the administrative assistant role or the assistant role is largely disappearing within organizations as AI begins to be able to handle the job that an assistant did. When I look at how much I use something like Calendly to schedule my meetings, it sets up the Zoom automatically. The It can reschedule the meetings. When you look at how much time that you can save by not having not having to schedule it yourself or have a personal assistant doing. And then honestly, having something like Calendly, which is essentially an AI, is $145 a year. So when you juxtapose that against having an assistant for in some companies $90,000 to $100,000 a year, but obviously assistant does a lot more. It's easy to see why these things are taking on such a are just steamrolling and taking off so fast.
Yep,
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of Calendly too, and can save a ton of time. And I think that goes back to efficiency, being more effective and smart with your time, and that's where I think AI can come into play. But then if we take a look at the next piece, which is the challenges of AI, and where AI cannot replace a human, and I think that's what the slide speaks to the most.
Yeah, and this is where HR adds value, but you've also got to be real careful because if you've got folks in your organization utilizing AI and then just kind of spitting out an AI result as their work product, that could be a real problem. So I think data privacy is critical. Like everything that's computer generated, there could be bias and errors. So you've got to be super careful with the data that you get back and how you use it and how you interpret it, because that's the real value that HR has, is really being able to interpret and put in your experience and then making a recommendation. That's not something that AI can do. Jason, any thoughts on the others?
You're still going to need good people skills. So what we told people in Long Beach was keep refining and creating and developing your great people skills, because people who can work well with others, manage teams, get people to work together in harmony and forge a vision and do all of those things, those are the people that are going to be in demand. And if they can have those skills and then understand how AI is going to help them get better at that, and they can leverage AI with those skills, those are the people that are going to be successful and make this transition and make these pivots. So I think that's really important for people to keep mindful of as they potentially think about, oh my God, AI is going to take your job. Well, it may take pieces of it, but there are still things that you're going to be able to do much, much better than the computer, than the AI. And I know I always talk about it, Heather, but I talked about it in Long Beach. I talked about the scene in The Mandalorian where
love it.
the robot basically is interviewing the doctor who used to be working for the Empire, but now is in the New Republic, and the robot had a really sweet sounding voice, but really didn't have any sort of emotion behind the voice when it was asking the doctor, "How are you doing? Do you feel loyalty towards the Republic now? Will you back whatever the New Republic says?" And so it was sort of this whole thing with AI. Like, AI could ask the questions, it could record it, it could meet with the person, but at the end of the day, and maybe it'll get that sophisticated, it wasn't it could not replace the human having that interaction, just seeing, is this person really being honest with me? Do I really believe what this person is saying? And I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. Maybe we will, but yeah, it just reminds me of that. And people laughed at that too when I brought that up.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people do that reference.
It's like garbage in, garbage out. It's kind of like, robot asked the question and that person responded in almost like a robot-like answer, right?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was just a lack, there was just a lack of emotion and a lack of excitement in the whole process. And so, that's the other thing, is you're going to have a workforce that's devoid of emotion, that's devoid of process. It's going to have process, but is it devoid of emotion around that process, devoid of the things that makes a workplace a workplace? And I think that's what we've got to remember, that AI cannot do, and I don't see how it could do it anytime soon, but I could be wrong. So a very smart person could be developing that right now, but as of right now, I don't think it's possible.
Like going back to George Orwell's 1984.
There you go.
There you go.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
scary back then. It's just as scary now if you think about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just evolving and getting better. Oh,
Yeah,
that's great. That's
exactly.
great.
I don't know if people would say better, but it's different.
Different.
And here, we just identify some areas that, AI can help solve some of the HR problems that are out there. Uh, and we broke this out into, talent acquisition, employee engagement, kind of learning and development, as well as automation. But there are other areas, but these are just kind of the ones that we think are, what I would call kind of low hanging fruit that folks can start taking a look at. In
Mhm.
talent acquisition, you got to be real careful, but AI can help you in a lot of areas in pre-screening when you get thousands of resumes for a role. AI could help you kind of cull that down to a manageable number. On learning and development, right now it's all about uh, employee development and employee career development today, and that's what really employees are looking for. The AI tools that are out there can help do that with recommending classes, programs, helping put together development plans for individuals. So this one's huge. We're doing a lot of work in this space with engaged mentoring and using technology to improve the mentoring process. So again, another area under in learning and development and even in employee engagement on the mentoring side that you can use technology. Um, Jason, thoughts on the other two?
Yeah, I think it's very correct. I wouldn't argue with anything here. I think talent acquisition has probably been the space that has obviously the most amount of AI tools since AI has really come into vogue. So you look at all of the things where there's uh, tools that will curate the best resumes that you receive and develop the best profile and make sure that your screens are getting the best resumes out of what comes in. So and there's all of the automated testing and all of those things. So I think that's been pretty thoroughly um, taken over by AI in a lot of spaces. And learning and development, we talked about AI chatbots. Our friend Beth White at MemeBot,
Yep.
that's going to just become even more prevalent. In the old days when I worked at Cisco and I managed shared services and we wanted to build a chatbot, we looked at the amount of time that you had to take to put the information in there, curate the data, update the data, and it was an intensely manual process. And you got to the point where you were saying, oh, it's just too expensive. I have to commit resources to update the tool and all these things. Now with something like MemeBot or AI, you can put in every piece of data you have, and the AI can churn through it and and spit it back out to the for lack of a better term, spit it back out to the user, and then you have basically a chatbot that you can get up and running and really administer very inexpensively into your organization because it can go through the data so fast and prepare it in a way that the user needs to consume. So we're going to see a lot more of that. We're going to see chatbots really going up the value proposition and really being able to add more value as it can get through data more quickly because of where it's going in that process and its learning abilities.
Yep.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of options for the AI organizations to utilize AI to become more efficient as we go.
Here's
So I think
another
this is just
slide. Yeah.
I think this one was just a great primer for anyone that's beginning to incorporate AI into HR operations. And I think the most important thing that I can say around this slide is it's not the 1 through 8 that is important. Those are important and really are important. But remember, your ability to be a person who is the change management expert in your organization, who can rationalize bringing in HR, bringing in AI tools into HR and then rationalizing it against what employees are feeling both in the HR organization and outside of the organization, and really seamlessly merging those and creating a great change management strategy so that people feel good about what's going on. This is what's really important in this slide. Is these are the steps, but remember, your ability to be human and really work the change management process effectively is really the important part here.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, that's in any, organizational change, HR change, it's all about change management, good communication, and this is kind of just some steps that you could utilize to make that happen.
Yeah, I think that anything that we have done or worked with clients, whether it's this or anything else, I think the key thing that comes up that I feel is the key thing is communication and being honest and transparent and open to listening as much as communicating the information.
Open to listening. That's interesting. Heather and I have teenagers. We're finding that to be in very short supply these days. But
it's almost zero, maybe even negative.
Yeah. And this slide is just, again, another example of how you can utilize kind of a process, to actually, put AI into your organization. And I think when you look at this, it's really about, finding the right tool, the right automation tool. It's about, informing, or like we said, communicating the information, doing some discovery, some testing, and then putting those things that work into action and transforming the organization. So it's really about, and again, this is iterative, so you really have to continue to do this as you go. It's not just going to be one time and done, especially with AI as things change.
Oh yeah. Things change so fast. If you don't change with the times, then you're going to be in deep trouble. What was that? Was that Samsung, Jason, that you mentioned that?
Oh yeah, Samsung. Yeah, they had those. And bless, as we like to say in the South, bless their hearts. We like to say that out here in the South. So we do say that. And they had some code that they wanted to analyze with some of Samsung's chips, see if the AI could help tweak it, make it a little bit better. They put it into the AI, and oops, they kind of forgot that it was a proprietary IP chip design, and off it went into the universe, and they lost some very significant IP design for their chips that is now out in the public domain. So things like this are really important, and you're going to have policies and procedures to make sure that people aren't disclosing things in the AI, and that it's managed effectively and intelligently, and you don't have too many bless your heart moments. So
exactly. So and for those not from the South, usually bless your heart comes after something, a real problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
not
so
a term
special.
of endearment. That's right. Not a term of endearment. That's great.
Oh gosh.
And this chart just talks a little bit about kind of how to mitigate the risk of AI in your organization. We talk about measurement, we talk about managing the process, mapping what you're doing, and then governance is really critical, kind of in the center of it all. It's that managing your IP, managing your confidential information, make sure that it doesn't get out there into the public domain, because that could be a real problem in organizations.
It's interesting that after you went through your slide deck and you did your presentation, if you remember at the beginning, we presented the poll. We took several, or Jason and Ray took several polls throughout the conversation with the audience, but the 82% of the people said they had a positive outlook on AI in HR. But when they closed out their session, they asked the same question again. And interestingly, the positive increased by 7%. And I'm curious, Jason and Ray, why you think that positive increased and the negative decreased?
I think we gave people reasons to not worry. So I think what we did is by framing it up this way and putting some parameters around it that people can understand, and putting it together in a digestible format, I think it really lessened people's anxiety. I think that, the anxiety of the unknown is what most of us struggle with when we have anxiety. And so I think that we were able to take away some of that. And so from my belief, that's why it went up. Ray, I don't know about you, but that would be my
Yeah,
opinion.
and I think folks, that walked in with a little bit of skepticism, came out of it with, it can be managed, like Jason said, and and there are ways to do that. There's some tools that you can utilize to do that in your organization. So you can't just ignore it, and hide is not an option. It's happening in your organizations. You folks have got to really start addressing this quickly. And even some of our prior customers have requested that we actually present the PowerPoint to them and their leadership team to talk about how to look at mitigating some of the risks that they've got. So we're actually in the middle of getting one scheduled with a big government defense contractor that's concerned about this.
Yeah, we'll be doing this a slide. We'll be doing these slides and having this conversation again in Florida in August. So we're looking forward to it.
Yep, exactly.
And one last slide.
Yeah.
I know you didn't have it on your list, but when I asked that question about why you thought that the positivity increased, and you talked a lot about, people had a lot of fear and now they're informed. And so I just wanted to show this last one before we wrapped up, and why AI is unable and will probably be unable for a very long time to perform certain jobs.
Yeah, I think when you look at this, you understand the limits of AI. Just because something can churn through data doesn't mean that necessarily is everything that people need to have in an organization. And so this is I think a great list. And when people look at this, they realize that at the end of the day, these skills are important and will always be important in life.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and also this is where kind of individuals can add value to the organization, and the kind of roles that do this on a regular basis are not going to be replaced by AI. They can't be. And and the other reason that I think the scores went up is because Jason and I did such a good job of talking.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
There you go. I like that. Exactly. And I think anytime that you exactly, I think that's really well said. And I think anytime that you connect with empathy and human emotion with people, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you guys find us? If you want to reach out to us to talk about anything we can support you in HR, reach out to me, Jason at thrivehrconsulting.com. Ray?
Yeah, and Ray, REY, at thrivehrconsulting.com. And Heather.
What's your email?
Heather.Simmons, SIMMONS, at thriveconsulting.com.
All right, awesome. We'll be talking soon.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks again for joining us. Please remember to search Thrive HR Consulting on social media and wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe, follow, and share to make that connection. To get an invite to our Slack channel, just comment or drop us an email at thrive@thrivehrconsulting.com. See you next time.